Get your filthy hands off me!
Anna, stood frozen, the serving tray in my hands trembling with each shallow breath I took. The elegant guests turned to stare at me, a few snickers rippling through the crowd from the tables behind. I had just been screamed at by my own baby sister, Lily, right in the middle of her extravagant 21st birthday party. Nobody here knew I was her sister. To them, I was just another broke waitress who apparently deserved to be yelled at. From across the room, the manager caught sight of the scene, his face hardening. He made a sharp gesture. "Office, now." I remained rooted to the spot, completely numb, asking myself, how did everything fall apart like this? The crystal chandeliers above cast their golden glow on designer dresses and champagne glasses. Laughter echoed through the upscale restaurant, laughter that felt like knives against my skin. My uniform suddenly felt too tight, too cheap, too visible under all those judgmental stares. Lily had already turned away, flipping her golden curls over her shoulder as she leaned toward her friends, whispering something that made them all giggle. One of them glanced at me with undisguised contempt. My legs finally obeyed, carrying me toward the back hallway. Each step felt like walking through concrete. The tray rattled in my shaking hands until a coworker gently took it from me, giving me a pitying look that somehow made everything worse. 10 years. 10 years of sacrifice, of sending every spare dollar home, of working double shifts until my feet bled. 10 years of loving her from a distance. And this was how she saw me. Filthy. Someone to avoid. Someone to be ashamed of. Our parents died in a car accident when I was 19 and Lily was 12. The funeral was small. Just a few neighbors from our old German-American community in Milwaukee, some distant relatives, and us. I remember holding Lily's hand as they lowered the caskets, feeling her small body shake with sobs. I was sobbing too, but I had to be strong. I was all she had left. I dropped out of nursing school 3 weeks later. The dream of becoming a registered nurse, of helping people, of building a stable career, all of it went into a box labeled "someday" that I knew would never be opened. To keep Lily comfortable, I took 2 jobs: morning shift at a coffee shop downtown, evening shift at whichever restaurant would hire me. Sometimes I picked up weekend catering gigs too. I rented the cheapest room I could find in a boarding house that smelled like mildew and old cigarettes. My meals consisted of instant ramen, day-old bread from the coffee shop, and whatever leftovers I could sneak from the restaurant. Every other penny went into an envelope addressed to my Aunt Kathy, who had agreed to take Lily in temporarily while I got on my feet. Those first phone calls were what kept me going. Lily's voice would crack through the line, young and scared. "Anna, when are you coming to visit? I miss you so much." "Soon, sweetheart. I promise. I'm working hard so we can be together again. When I grow up," she'd say solemnly, "I'm going to take care of you. I'll work hard and buy you everything you want." I believed her. God, I believed her with my whole heart. I believed it so completely that I forgot I was young too. That I also deserved dreams, relationships, a future beyond endless shifts and aching feet. I sent her birthday cards with whatever money I could spare tucked inside. I sent her new school clothes every semester. I paid for her cheerleading uniform, her yearbook photos, her prom dress, all from a distance, through checks and wire transfers, like a ghost parent who could only show love through dollars and cents. "I'm doing this for us," I'd whisper to myself on particularly hard nights. "For our future." I just never imagined what that future would actually look like. The Riverside Manor had a reputation for being the most luxurious dining establishment in the entire city, an oasis of glass and gleaming surfaces perched right beside the Milwaukee River. Towering windows stretched from polished floor to high ceilings, giving diners a sweeping view of the water, while crisp white tablecloths, rumored to cost more individually than my entire weekly rent, draped every table. The customers were the type who thought nothing of ordering wine that cost as much as my monthly paycheck, and they drank it with all the ceremony of sipping tap water. I had been working there for only 3 months, but it already felt like an eternity. The pay was good, better than any service job I'd had before, but it came with a price. Enduring patrons whose entitlement was so overwhelming it practically settled on my skin like dust. Most of them barely acknowledged I was human, much less someone with a life outside the dining room. That night, the atmosphere sparkled with extra extravagance. A private party had claimed the VIP lounge for a birthday celebration. The space was dressed up in shimmering rose gold decorations, artfully arranged balloon towers, and party favors that looked as if they'd been curated by a professional event designer. The guests, a crowd of stylish 20-somethings, oozed money from the labels on their clothes to the careless ease in their voices. They looked like they lived in a world where everything came effortlessly. Of course, I was assigned to them. Balancing a tray of hors d'oeuvres, I made my way toward the group, mentally preparing for the fake smiles and forced politeness. But halfway there, something stopped me cold. A shape, no, a person, stood out among the glittering guests. A familiar figure that made my breath catch painfully in my chest. Waves of golden hair spilled down over smooth, bare shoulders. A crimson silk dress clung elegantly to her figure, transforming her into someone out of a magazine. Lily, my little sister. Except the girl I remembered, awkward, soft-spoken, always wearing hand-me-downs, was gone. This woman in red looked polished, radiant, undeniably confident. She fit into this world of privilege as though she had been part of it her entire life. My eyes stung. How long had it been? 2 years since she'd last answered one of my calls? Nearly 3 since I'd actually seen her face? With trembling hands, I set down the tray on a side table and willed my legs to move. "Lily?" I breathed. The word felt brittle. "Lily, it's you, isn't it?" She glanced at me. For a fleeting heartbeat, recognition flashed across her features. Then it vanished, replaced by terror, then revulsion so sharp it might as well have cut me. "Oh my God, Lily!" The dam inside me broke. I stepped forward, arms open, chasing the reunion I'd longed for. "It's me, Anna. I've missed you so—" "What the hell?" She recoiled violently, her face contorted. "Get your filthy hands off me!" Her voice sliced through the music, silencing the entire room. Laughter erupted around her. A blonde friend leaned in dramatically. "Lily, do you know this homeless-looking waitress?" A guy lifted his phone, already filming. "Dude, she totally lunged at you." "Security!" Lily shrieked theatrically. "Someone remove this crazy woman." I froze. My arms hung uselessly in the air, my whole body numb. I had never felt so publicly, humiliatingly discarded. "Anna," my manager's voice was tight. "My office, now." As I walked away, legs trembling, I heard Lily murmur loudly, "I don't know who that psycho is. Some people are unbelievable." Their laughter chased me all the way to the back. The manager's office was a cramped space that smelled like stale coffee and disappointment. Marcus stood behind his desk, arms crossed, his face set in that expression managers perfected, disappointed but unsurprised. "What the hell was that, Anna?" I tried to steady my voice. "I'm sorry. I saw my sister and I just—" "Your sister?" He barked out a laugh. "That's your excuse? You harassed a VIP customer because you think she's your sister?" "She is my sister. I raised her. I don't care if she's the Queen of England." Marcus slammed his hand on the desk. "This is a professional establishment. You do not, under any circumstances, approach customers like that. Do you understand how bad that looked? She could sue us. Her parents could sue us." "Her parents are dead," I said quietly. "I would know. I paid for their funeral." Something in my voice must have gotten through because Marcus paused, studying my face. For a moment, I thought he might actually listen. Then he sighed. Look, Anna, I don't know what your situation is, and frankly, it's not my problem. What I do know is that you created a scene that embarrassed a high-paying customer. I'm moving you to lunch shifts for the next 2 weeks. No evening VIP service. Your tips will reflect that. Lunch shifts meant elderly folks splitting early bird specials and office workers on tight budgets. It meant my income would be cut by more than half. Please, I need those evening shifts. I can't afford. You should have thought about that before you decided to have a family reunion in the middle of service. He waved me toward the door. We're done here. Get yourself together and finish your shift. I walked back out into the restaurant on autopilot. The party was still going, louder now with alcohol flowing freely. I caught glimpses of Lily through the doorway. She was laughing, dancing, perfectly fine, like nothing had happened, like I was nothing. My coworkers avoided eye contact. I heard whispers in the break room later. Did you see that? So unprofessional. I heard she's been acting weird lately. Apparently, she just grabbed some random customer. Only Sarah, the other evening waitress, approached me during our shift change. Hey, you okay? I almost broke down right there. That really was my sister. I believe you, Sarah said softly. But Anna, if she treats you like that in public, maybe she's not worth breaking yourself over. I wanted to argue, to explain how Lily was just scared, just protecting her image, just what? Just completely willing to humiliate me to maintain her lie? That night, I cried in the shower of my tiny apartment until the water ran cold. 10 years of sacrifice, 10 years of love, and in one moment, she'd made me feel like I was nothing but dirt beneath her expensive shoes. The worst part? A small voice in my head whispered that maybe she was right. I didn't learn about Lily's downfall until weeks later, when it was already complete. But I would piece together what happened through fragments. A mutual acquaintance here, a social media post there, and eventually from Lily herself. The video went viral within the friend group. The guy who recorded it, Tyler, I later learned, sent it to their private group chat with the caption, "When waitresses attack." At first, it seemed like a funny story. Lily played along, calling me crazy, saying I must have mistaken her for someone else. Her friends ate it up, treating her like a celebrity survivor of a bizarre encounter. But then someone started asking questions. Wait, she called you by name, though? Yeah, and she seemed really emotional, like she actually knew you. Lily, that was weird. Why would some random waitress cry over you like that? The cracks started forming. Lily deflected, changed subjects, tried to move on. But the doubt had been planted. Then came the financial problems. Lily had been living in a trendy downtown loft, $1,800 a month, which she'd been covering with the money I sent plus liberal use of credit cards she'd somehow acquired. She'd told her friends her parents had left her a trust fund, that she was taking a gap year before starting at some prestigious university. All lies built on my paycheck. When the landlord's notices started coming, 2 months overdue on rent, Lily panicked. She tried calling me, but I'd blocked her number after that night. She asked her friends for loans. Oh, can't you just ask your parents for more money? Or pull from your trust fund? She made excuses, said the money was tied up, said there was a problem with her account. But wealthy kids know what wealth looks like, and her increasingly desperate attempts to borrow money didn't fit the image she'd created. They started excluding her, first from the smaller hangouts, then from the group chat, then from everything. The loft's management company didn't care about her social problems. They wanted money or they wanted her out. When she couldn't produce either, they gave her 10 days' notice. Her credit cards maxed out. The friends who she'd treated to countless brunches and shopping trips suddenly never answered their phones. The boyfriend who'd held her while she played victim that night? He broke up with her via text. This is too much drama for me. Lily found herself alone in an empty apartment with eviction papers, surrounded by designer clothes she'd bought on credit she couldn't pay back, with a phone full of contacts who wouldn't return her calls. She had no job, no money, no prospects, and no skills beyond looking good on Instagram. And she had exactly one person left in the world who might possibly help her, the sister she'd publicly humiliated and called filthy. I imagine it took her several days of sitting in that empty loft before she swallowed her pride enough to come find me. The knock came on a Tuesday evening. I'd just gotten home from a double shift, my feet screaming in pain, ready to collapse into bed. When I opened the door, Lily stood there with 2 suitcases and eyes red from crying. We stared at each other for a long moment. She looked smaller somehow, despite being 3 inches taller than me now. Her designer outfit was wrinkled, her hair unwashed. The girl who'd screamed at me in that restaurant looked like a shadow of herself. Her voice cracked. I don't have anywhere else to go. Every instinct screamed at me to slam the door, to let her feel the rejection she'd served me. But I thought of our parents, of 12-year-old Lily clutching my hand at their funeral, and I stepped aside. Come in, but we need to talk. My apartment was a studio, one room serving as bedroom, living room, and kitchen. She looked around at the worn furniture, the water-stained ceiling, the life I'd been living while funding her luxury. Lily sat on the edge of my sagging couch, hands twisted in her lap. I'm so sorry, Anna. Sorry for what, exactly? I remained standing, arms crossed. Sorry for screaming at me? Sorry for calling me filthy? Sorry for pretending you didn't know me while your friends laughed? Which part are you sorry for, Lily? She flinched at each question. All of it, everything. I was awful. Why? The question burst out of me. Why did you do it? Do you know what that felt like? To see you after all these years, to be so happy, and then to have you... My voice broke. I was scared. Lily's words tumbled out in a rush. I told everyone my parents left me money, that I was from a wealthy family. If they found out I had a sister working as a waitress, if they knew where I really came from, they would have dropped me immediately. I'd worked so hard to fit into that world. With my money, I shouted. Every dollar you spent on that fake life came from me working 2 jobs. I gave up nursing school for you. I gave up everything for you. And you were embarrassed of me? I know, and I hate myself for it. Tears streamed down her face. I got so caught up in the image, in being someone I'm not. I thought if I could just fake it long enough, I'd become that person for real. But it all fell apart anyway, because it was built on lies. Because I was ashamed of the wrong things, she whispered. I should have been ashamed of forgetting where I came from, of forgetting you. You sacrificed your entire youth for me, and I repaid you by... She couldn't finish. She didn't need to. We both knew what she'd done. The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of misunderstanding and hurt. Finally, I sat down beside her. You can stay, but things are going to be different now. That first night, Lily slept on my couch. I gave her a spare blanket and pillow, both worn thin from years of use. I heard her crying softly after I turned off the lights, but I didn't comfort her. Some lessons needed tears. The next morning, I woke her up at 6 a.m. Get up. We're going job hunting. She blinked at me groggily. Now? But I thought... You thought what? That you'd just stay here rent-free while I continue working myself to death? I kept my voice level but firm. No. If you're staying here, you're contributing. You're going to get a job, learn how to budget, and understand what it actually means to work for a living. But I don't have any experience. Neither did I when I was 19 and suddenly responsible for both of us. I tossed her some clothes, plain jeans and a simple shirt. Welcome to the real world, Lily. It's not as pretty as Instagram, but it's honest. We spent the day walking from business to business. I'd printed out her resume the night before, a tragically thin document that listed her high school education and nothing else. Most places took one look and said they'd keep it on file, which we both knew meant no. But finally, around 3 p.m., we walked into the Daily Grind, a coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment. The manager, a tired-looking woman named Patricia, actually read the resume. No experience? No, ma'am, Lily said quietly. I'd coached her to be humble, honest. But you're willing to learn? To actually work? Yes, I really need this job. Patricia studied her for a moment. Okay, trial period starts tomorrow, 6 a.m. Don't be late. The pay is minimum wage plus tips. You'll be on coffee bar and cash register. Think you can handle it? Yes, Lily said, and I heard genuine gratitude in her voice. Thank you so much. As we walked home, I laid out the ground rules. Half your paycheck goes to me for rent and food. A quarter goes into savings. Don't argue. You're building an emergency fund. The last quarter is yours for necessities, not wants, necessities. Okay? You'll do your own laundry, make your own meals. I'll teach you how to cook cheap. No more designer anything. No more pretending to be someone you're not. I understand. And Lily? I stopped walking, turned to face her. You're going to have to earn back my trust. That doesn't happen overnight. It might take months, years even. But if you're serious about changing, about becoming someone I can actually be proud to call my sister again, then you're going to have to prove it through actions, not words. She nodded, tears brimming again. I will. I promise, Anna. I'll prove it to you. I hoped she meant it, but only time would tell. 2 weeks into her new job, Lily came home early, shaking. I looked up from the grocery list I was making. Planning cheap meals had become our evening routine. What happened? I can't do this. She dropped onto the couch, head in her hands. I quit. You what? I stood up, anger flaring. Lily, you don't understand what it's like. These people are horrible. This drunk guy came in today, and when I was slow making his latte because I'm still learning the machine, he started yelling at me, called me stupid, said I was probably too poor to afford education. That's why I'm working minimum wage. Her voice broke. And everyone just watched. No one defended me. My anger faded into something more complicated. I sat down beside her. What did the manager do? Patricia? She asked him to leave eventually, but not before he'd humiliated me in front of like 20 customers. I was quiet for a long moment, remembering hundreds of similar incidents over the years. The drunk customers, the ones who snapped fingers at me like I was a dog, the ones who grabbed, who insulted, who made me feel like less than human. Do you want to know how many times that happened to me? I asked softly. While I was sending you money for your perfect life? Lily looked up at me, eyes red. Dozens, maybe hundreds. I've been called every name you can imagine. I've had drinks thrown at me. I've been grabbed, propositioned, insulted, humiliated, all while trying to earn enough to make sure you never had to worry about money. Anna, that drunk man who yelled at you today, I dealt with someone like him every single week, sometimes every single day. And you know what I did? I smiled through it. I went to the back room and cried during my break, and then I went back out there and did it all over again. Because I had to. Because you were counting on me. I'm so sorry, Lily whispered. I never realized. That's the problem. I turned to face her fully. You never had to realize it. You were protected from all of this by my sacrifice, and instead of appreciating it, you were embarrassed by it, by me. We sat in silence, the weight of those words settling between us. Finally, Lily spoke, her voice barely audible. You're right. I was spoiled and selfish, and I didn't see you as a person, just as someone who sent money. And when I saw you at the restaurant, all I could think was, she's going to ruin my image. I didn't think about your feelings, about what you'd been through to get me there. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want to try to earn it, so I'm not quitting. I'm going back tomorrow. For the first time since that horrible night, I felt a tiny crack in the wall I'd built around my heart. The change didn't happen overnight. Lily had bad days when she'd come home exhausted and teary, complaining about rude customers or her aching feet. But she didn't quit. She showed up every morning at 6 a.m., often before her alarm even went off. I watched her transform slowly. The designer clothes were sold on consignment apps. She needed practical work clothes anyway. Her manicured nails grew out and stayed natural because salon visits weren't in the budget. The girl who'd once posted 5 times a day on Instagram barely touched her phone anymore. 3 months in, she got her first real paycheck after a holiday rush. Instead of spending it, she came home with a small wrapped box. "What's this?" I asked, suspicious of any unnecessary expenses. "Open it." Inside was a pair of work shoes. Good ones, with proper arch support, the kind I'd been putting off buying because my old ones still had a few months left in them, even though they hurt my feet. "Lily, you can't afford—" "I saved my tip money," she interrupted. "I've been watching you limp home every night. Your shoes are falling apart, Anna. Let me do this. Please." I stared at the shoes, then at my sister. This girl who'd once spent hundreds on designer heels was giving me practical work shoes bought with money she'd earned herself. I couldn't help it. I started crying. "Thank you," I managed to say. 6 months after she moved in, I came home to find our tiny apartment transformed. Lily had cleaned everything, reorganized our cramped space to be more functional, and somehow managed to make dinner. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti with sauce from a jar and a bagged salad. But she'd set the table with a folded paper towel as a napkin and even found a candle somewhere. On my plate was a handwritten note on the back of an old receipt. "Thank you for not giving up on me. I'm sorry I ever gave you a reason to. I love you, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worth your sacrifice. Lily." I sat down heavily, the note shaking in my hands. Lily appeared from the kitchen area, nervous. "Is it okay? I know it's not much, but I wanted to—" I stood up and hugged her. Really hugged her, for the first time since that night at the restaurant. She froze for a moment, then wrapped her arms around me, and we both cried into each other's shoulders. "I'm proud of you," I whispered. "Mom and Dad would be proud of you too." She sobbed harder at that. "We're going to be okay," I told her. Told us both. "It won't be easy, and we still have a long way to go, but we're going to be okay." And for the first time in years, I actually believed it. 1 year later, our lives looked completely different. I'd been promoted to shift supervisor at the restaurant, which came with a raise and more stable hours. I was even taking one online nursing course, just one, because that's all I could afford. But it was a start, a tiny step toward the dream I'd buried. Lily had become Patricia's most reliable employee. She'd been promoted to assistant manager of the morning shift, training new hires and handling inventory. She was even taking night classes at the community college, studying business management. We'd moved into a 1-bedroom apartment, still small, still modest, but it had a separate bedroom for Lily and didn't smell like mildew. We'd furnished it with secondhand finds and things we'd saved up for together. It wasn't much, but it was ours, built on honest work and mutual respect. On the anniversary of that horrible night at the restaurant, Lily asked if we could talk. We sat on our worn but comfortable couch, coffee mugs in hand, a Saturday morning ritual we'd developed. "I've been thinking about that night a lot," she said. "About what I said to you. Lily, we don't need to—" "Yes, we do." She turned to face me. "I called you filthy. I treated you like you were nothing. And you know what's insane? You were the cleanest person in that room, not because of your clothes or your job, but because everything you did came from love. Real love. While I was building a life on lies and pretension and caring more about appearances than people." She took a shaky breath. "I'm not that person anymore. Or at least, I'm trying not to be. And if I ever start slipping back into that shallow materialistic mindset, I want you to call me out. Hard." "I will," I promised. But Lily, I'm proud of who you've become, who you're still becoming. We're both becoming, she corrected. You're taking nursing classes again. You're building toward your dream. I'm so happy for you. I smiled. It's slow, really slow, but it's happening. That's all that matters. Progress, not perfection. Later that evening, as I was getting ready for my shift, I thought about everything that had happened. About the girl I'd been, working herself to exhaustion, losing herself in sacrifice, believing that love meant accepting any treatment. I used to think I was just a dirty waitress in Lily's eyes, someone to be ashamed of, someone whose calloused hands and tired eyes represented everything she wanted to escape. But I've learned that people only see dirt when they can't see the love underneath. My rough hands built a bridge that kept Lily fed, educated, alive. Those hands might have served food and scrubbed tables, but they were never dirty. They were marked by love, even when that love wasn't recognized. Family isn't perfect. We hurt each other. We disappoint each other. We sometimes say and do terrible things. But if we're still willing to change for each other, to grow together, to choose love over pride, then there's always hope. And hope, I've learned, is worth more than any designer dress or fancy restaurant. Hope is what keeps us human, what keeps us connected, what reminds us that we're worth fighting for, both ourselves and the people we love. As I headed out the door for my shift, Lily called out, "Anna, I love you, and thank you for everything." "I love you too," I called back. "Now don't forget to study for your exam." Her laugh followed me down the stairs, warm and genuine. We still had struggles ahead, financial pressures, old wounds that occasionally reopened, the long road of rebuilding trust. But we were walking that road together now, honestly, as real sisters finally seeing each other clearly, and that made all the difference.